Hey folks, we're on our third video, and if you did these chapters, you know that they were nice and quick and short, but at the same time, these were amongst the most important, I believe, of the other ones too. So you have, earlier on we're doing like websites and landing pages and bringing in leads and talking to them a little bit, but this really is like the meat of it. These are the things that really changed the way I sold real estate, and some of them I actually learned before I got to this book, but it just reinforced some of the things that I was already doing that were really effective when it comes time to talking with leads. And it doesn't have to just be cold leads. It can be people you've known for a while and qualifying them, and all these things that he goes over you can use for anybody. So let's just get right to it because this is some important stuff. First of all, I'm not sure I've ever really had a 20-minute conversation. He says 20-minute conversations. For our business, let's say 7, 8. That's probably close in his 20-minute conversation mind frame. But the important part is digging deep and asking the right questions. Now, there's two things you need to do when you do this. One, of course, is to take notes. You got to take notes and write these things down. We talked earlier about repeating what they say. And there's only the good way to do that is writing things down as you're talking to them. Because the conversation could possibly divert or you could go on a tangent and things happen. But really, these are the notes that you need to go over with them. And they'll talk about that later in this chapters as well. And then another thing you need to do is make sure you have qualifying questions. And the good agents disguise those qualifying questions and they sneak them into the conversations as naturally as possible. Like, oh, did you get qualified by a lender? Or what kind of price range are you thinking? Or did you look in Zillow to see how much your house is worth? Because we all know Zillow is absolutely wrong in every way, shape, or form. So little those things, like you sneak those in there, but be sure there's like 4 to 5 questions that work for you that you need to know when you're talking to buyers or sellers, renters, landlords, whatever, and have those in the back of your mind, and be sure that you don't end that conversation without those 4 or 5 qualifying questions being answered. Dig deep, ask a little more, because you also want to be sure you're talking about the right things. Like if they don't have any interest in listing videos or open houses, that you don't spend a lot of time talking about open houses. Because then you spend 10, 15 minutes talking about how great you are with open houses and they don't care. You just wasted your time. So these qualifying questions and taking notes are important to help you save time and get right to the point of what they need. Because let's face it, they don't care what we do. It's about them, their goals, what they're trying to do. So be sure you have that frame of mind. It's not about us. It's not about how big our presentation is or that we have these nice huge signs. They don't care. It's what matters to them that matters to us. Good? So we have our 20 minutes. We got our taking our notes. We got our qualifying questions. And then recap. And he talks about the recap as being very important in getting them to say yes. And they get in the habit of saying yes. So as you go over, like, oh yeah, so I was talking, you didn't talk to Zillow, right? We didn't check Zillow, right? Right, we haven't talked to Zillow yet. All right, cool. Did you get pre-qualified? Oh, no, we haven't got pre-qualified. All right, so you haven't talked to like Craig or whoever. Oh, no, we haven't quite talked to them. And so you go through and you want to make sure you go over those things. Be sure you have as many yeses as possible, despite the fact that I just gave you a no example. I realized that as I was talking, but make sure you get as many yeses as you can so they get in the habit of saying yes. And you have all these qualifying questions that you answered, and they've given you the information. They've prepped you to ask softball questions over and over again. So be sure you have notes. Be sure you ask the qualifying questions. Be sure you get yeses when you read those things back to them and go over those notes. And then, of course, the most important thing in that chapter is be a listener. Again and again, it's not about you. It's not about what you can do unless it's meeting their goals first. If it can meet their goals, then yes, we can do that. We can definitely do open houses. We can definitely do virtual tours. If it's what you want, if it gets you to the goal that you're trying to achieve. And unless you're a good listener, if you're not just presenting and saying how great you are and I've got this award and I got that award, they don't care about your awards. They really don't. They look nice on your trophy case, but they want to know what you are going to do for them. Be a good listener. And that's chapter 9, very important stuff. And then we get into chapter 10. And chapter 10 is about gaining trust. I mean, the qualifying questions usually work really well because people love a good listener. They love to make sure that you care about them, that you know what they're getting after, or that you know what they want to do. But if you haven't gained their trust after the qualifying questions and being a great listener, there's a few little tricks that he uses as well, he talks about in chapter 10, such as being a co-brander. And Kevin and I talked a little bit about the co-branding thing because I had a different perception of what he meant by co-branding. in the book, he talks about co-branding in the sense that, hey, we're Quicken Loans. Our owner owns the Cleveland Cavaliers, and we work with places like NSYNC, and we're really well known, and we're very respected. And he used that kind of as his co-branding. As Kevin and I talked, I even do a little bit of co-branding. He reminded me when I do things like the Sweet Sue's or the Mullies or those places, and I I really don't, but I could say, we do things like with local businesses like Mullies and things, and since they trust me and they bring me in all the time and we work together on things, I'm part of the community, and you can use that as co-branding too. I really don't, and if I do, I don't do it on purpose. It just happens, but those things can be co-branding as well. I know Hometown Real Estate does some charity things, which would be really good to use. I know we do the car show events and things like that sometimes, so all those can be branding because charities won't bring in companies that are represent them poorly or corrupt. They only bring in businesses that can be trusted for the most part. So you can definitely use some of that as your co-branding. And then, of course, statistics. And there's a lot of statistics out there. Kevin's running through Facebook right now and doing advertisements, and we're doing Instagram things. And a lot of those are very good for stats. Like we're getting 700 likes on this or 2,200 of these. And I definitely do that in my listing presentations. When you go into the back at you can see which ads you were boosted. And I show them a regular ad that had like 46, 58 hits. And then I show them a boosted ad that we had a very specific target, and it's like 2,200, 2,500. And 10 out of 10 people that are about to list their house are impressed with that. They're like, holy cow, it looks like you really have a target audience. And I'm like, yeah, we boost this, and 3,500 people are definitely going to see it. I can tell you 3,500 people will see it. I'm going to have another 500 that click on your link. I'm definitely get you coverage. We're definitely going to target a group that'll be interested in your house without a doubt. So you can do stats like that on purpose or intentionally, the co-branding as well. Now he warns that not to make it sound like a scam. Don't push it so hard. Don't be like branding, branding, branding. Look at all these people that trust us, because after a while people get a little, he's pushing that pretty hard. I wonder why he's working so hard to be so trustworthy. So be careful, you know when to cut off. Just give a couple of examples, short, sweet, to the point, keep it simple, and then move on with the rest of your ways that you're going to help those people. Okay, so he talks about that, 9 and 10. Moving right along. Then he gives a little bit of objection handling, and this is awesome. This is a really, really good way, and if you don't do this, you probably should start trying this. What you want to do is part of your asking questions, right? You want to go over some of the things that they need. Some of the things like, if we do this and this, are you ready to list? If we do this and this, are you ready to buy a house? If this and this happens, does it reach the goal you're looking for? And you get rid of all of those objections up front. So be sure you talk about like being pre-qualified. Be sure you talk about like net sheets, and if they make a certain amount on the sale of their house. Be sure you talk about all those up front. So when you get to the end, they won't say, well, let me think about it. Well, no, we thought about it. We talked about those things. We went over those things. All those reaching your goals. Is there anything else that we're not reaching your goals? Anything else we need to cover? And you try to do as much as you can up front, so that way there's no objections on the back end. And if you don't do this, start doing it. You need to start doing it. Start pre-qualifying your people. Start getting up front with them and start asking them what they need and under what scenario are they listing, buying, renting that house. Do it and get it out of the way up front. So it makes it a much more comfortable conversation at the end. There's not that awkward objection at the very end, okay? Start doing that and reread that chapter if you don't know what I'm talking about. And then some of the things, discuss solutions. Oh, as you go through as well, be sure you continue discussing how you can help them meet their needs, how you have certain solutions, what you do helps them meet those goals, and make sure you keep doing that, keep building that trust as you keep going through, all right? So that's a little bit of reiteration, a little bit of repetition, but chapter 11, very important. Read it, reread it, do it again. And then roll into our last chapter today is the 5 yes technique. And a lot of the 5 yes technique, you've already gotten through, you've already started doing it. All right, you started prepping them already. You started throwing those softballs up, and it's easy to ask questions that you already know the answers to because they already gave you the answers. So it's easy, very easy, to get those 5 yeses. 5 or 6 more softballs towards the end, reviewing those notes, things that they said, things that they need, their goals, not your goals, not our goals, their goals. And once you get them into saying yes, just a nice repetition of it, right? So towards the end, you get another yes. You don't want any more no's. And then he said 20, 20, 20. So I'm not as big on that one, but it can, parts of it certainly can work and have worked for me in the past. So he says the first 20 minutes is just getting the notes and writing things down and so on and so forth. And then he says sometimes you can, once those 20 minutes are up and you have a really good idea of what they need, you say, all right, I'm going to call you back 10 minutes. I'm going to make a personalized listing presentation or buying whatever. I'm going to send you this, whatever material they need. Call them back and you have another 20 minutes of reviewing. Here's the different, very specific things I can do just for you based on what you just told me you need. All right? And he says sometimes that incubation period, getting away, is a good chance, especially for if this is one of the first times you've done it or it's a cold lead, to get your composure back, to review your notes, to get yourself collected, and to show them that you do have a personalized. You can't just say it and not do it. You do have a personalized. Here I gave a presentation just for your house right there on Brooms Island. And here's some things about Brooms Island that I know. Here's some local areas. Here's some things I do. Here's some specifics that I would do for your listing or landlord, renting or buyer or whatever you're going to work on, okay? And then he has the last 20 minutes as closing. So you want to close a deal. You've already gotten all the yeses. They already have your trust, and that is a heck of a long conversation. I'm not sure I've ever had too many go that long. And you know what, though? Take in mind that some of this stuff happens in person, too. I mean, it's not always on the phone. Like, if you have a warm lead and you're meeting them at the house or meeting them in the office, a 60-minute conversation happens, you know, and you can do it in person. It doesn't have to be on the phone. So a lot of these concepts will work for you when you're sitting down with people, even people you already know. I mean, you already know them. You can have some casual conversation, but be sure you have some notes. Be sure you do the qualifying questions, even if you know the person. And then you still can have a 20. Maybe 20 minutes of sitting down meeting. Maybe 20 minutes of you putting a presentation together. Maybe another 20 minutes going to the house and checking it out. And whatever works for you. But these things are very good and very helpful. And then, of course, at the very end, he keeps talking a little bit about make sure you keep repeating your features, the benefits that you are going to provide to them. And I've actually done those in all my listing presentations, and I didn't realize it until I read the conversion code. I just thought that made sense, you know, to listen to them first and give them what they want, and here's what I do for you. Oh, you mentioned you have weird hours and your husband works third shift. Great. My virtual tours, people can watch those 24 hours a day. It doesn't matter. Oh, you said you're always away on Saturdays? That's great. That's a perfect time to do an open house. We can do them every Saturday because you're not going to be here anyway. You can say, you know what, I love my neighbors. That's great. We do flyers. We go around and do door knocking and meet your neighbors because they might be the ones to help you find a buyer for your next house. So make sure all these things you're doing. And if you're not, why not? You need to do these because you got to be a good listener. You can't just say, hi, I sell houses and I have big signs and we do, Hometown makes virtual tours for us, because that's not going to get you anywhere. Plus, honestly, it's no fun. It's way more fun if you know who it is you're working with. As a team, you're together. So, way more fun that way. And at the end, you tie it down. So once you have all that, we've gone over all your questions, you got a bunch of yeses. Cool. Does Friday work for you? Let's list the house Friday. That's a great time. We can get everything together. Or, when's a good time for my photographer to stop by? Wednesdays, he's usually open. You said you don't work on Wednesdays or whatever. At the very end, have some kind of qualifying tie-down question where you set up that next appointment. Here's the next thing we do in order to get your house listed. Here's the next thing we do to get you out buying. Here's the next thing we do to get your house rented. Whatever it is, this is the next step, and just treat it as if this is going to happen. This is what you do next. All right? So hopefully all these things are helpful, because they are. And if you don't do them, pluck off some of the things you don't do and start doing them. If you have to write down a script of qualifying questions until you memorize them, do it. Or if you don't know how to 5 yes techniques, work on softball questions. Whatever you need to do, work on these skills, because these are what's going to bring your numbers up and connect you to your clients better. So hopefully you enjoyed chapters 9 through 12. We're doing 13, 18, and 17. I always do that every single time. And that's next Monday again. Kevin and I will get a time together. And again, we're going to throw this on the blog site. We'll throw it on the Facebook page. Questions. Ask us questions. I mean, ask me what's working for me if you want to. Or ask Becky King. She'll tell you she's awesome too. Steve Bryan. These guys are all very good. They all do these things. Karen Town, all these people. And they'll be happy to help you with as much as they can. They might not give you everything. There's their secret sauce, of course. They won't give you the secret sauce. But they'll definitely tell you some of the things they do that seem to work for you. So we're a community. We work together, ask questions, and hopefully you're doing well with this book. He's very monotone. It makes it really tough, but pull through it. And hopefully these notes are helping you as well. So we'll see you Monday. Thank you very much. Have a good week.